Hi, my name is Maria Balles-Gunter. I'm a registered nurse here at Chino Hills Medical Weight Control, and you're tuning in to the Medical Weight Control podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Medical Weight Control Podcast. I am your host, Annie Rivera. I'm super excited to have a really wonderful guest on our show. Actually, she's one of the experts over at the Medical Weight Control Chino Hills location. So, with us, we have Maria Balles-Gunter. Maria, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yay! Why don't you tell us a little bit about your role, your title, and what it is that you do here at Medical Weight Controls?
Okay, sure. I'm a registered nurse. Some of my responsibilities here are to help patients achieve their weight loss goals. We do actually have I do procedures like laser procedures, the laser hair removal. We do Tighten, which tightens up skin. Laser genesis. We do laser vein removal. We do IPL for brown spots or for dark sunspots if people are interested. I do actually set up and implement IV therapy. We do different types of the IV therapy depending on your need. I do the Botox consults also. And then, of course, injections like lipos and B12s and B6s. So we do a little bit of everything.
Really cool. Now, I know that you talked a little bit about IV therapy and something that we did for the pretty much the month of June and we talked a little bit about hydration. We also promoted that. So I know that you're very well versed in hydration. So in just this maybe short segment, why don't you just talk a little bit about hydration and talk about how important it is?
Yes. And it's amazing because I have actually seen before my eyes people change physically because of the hydration. There was a couple of patients that we've had here that, of course, don't like drinking water, and they were very fatigued and lethargic. And they were actually doing a series probably every other week of the hydration therapy. And within weeks, actually a week, because it happened that quickly, they increased their energy, no more fatigue. They felt like they basically can conquer the world. So it is important for people to make sure that they're hydrated. It helps with migraines, like I said, energy, a list of things that people don't even associate with dehydration.
Right.
But once you do feel the difference, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I need to get hydrated.
So you do offer the IV therapy and the hydration therapy formula there at Medical Weight Controls.
Uh-huh.
Very cool. And then, so is that something that they can do maybe during a lunchtime, or how long does that normally take?
We actually offer two different sizes. One's a 500 milliliter bag and the other is 1,000 milliliter. And typically, if you're a little bit more on the dehydrated side, men usually fall into that category. They have to drink water. They'll take basically anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to infuse. If you're doing a little bit less, like the 500 milliliter, we typically will go ahead and it'll take anywhere from 20 minutes to 35 minutes. So something that you can do during your lunch break. It is a relaxing atmosphere. We do have a TV that if you'd like to sit there and relax or even play on your phone for a while, that you have the ability to do that.
So there's virtually no downtime. You can literally can you eat or drink while being hydrated?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we've actually had a couple of people bring in their lunch and eat during the time they're doing it. Cool. Conferences go on in there sometimes also with work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you can do.
So you can basically kind of feed two birds with one stone. You can just, take care of your own needs as well as,
find healthy for yourself.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Now, also in the month of June is PTSD Awareness Month. And something that maybe the mass aren't truly aware of, including myself. Do you want to talk a little bit about what PTSD is?
Basically, it's after a traumatic event. I think most people associate it with combat or the military.
Mm-hmm.
but it's more than that. It actually can be after abuse. It can happen after an accident. It can happen in one of, the school shootings. Um, it's trauma that basically
Right.
people endure, and they have a hard time overcoming that. There's things that happen that they have these recurring nightmares about the event. We have people that come in with those type of uh, trauma that has happened that actually will go ahead and can't seem to get over it because it's in their brains. They have the nightmares, they have the recurring thoughts, they are avoiding certain situations, so they're not able to go back into their life as the way it was before the event happened.
Right.
So it's important actually for those people to, and family members to recognize after a tragic event like that, not to go ahead and not let that person just try to figure it on their own, to help them seek, some type of counseling, some kind of, even if it's medication, to try to deal with, the issues that have happened, only because sometimes people feel alone, because they feel like they're the only ones that can understand that, and they need to seek some kind of help to basically overcome those thoughts and feelings.
Now, I hear this said in conversations, or I've even heard the terminology trigger points, or trigger things that trigger them. Now, what could be like a trigger? Can you
Well, like, I
explain?
know some people that after one of the major shootings, anytime that they'd hear fireworks,
Hmm,
they just broken out into anxiety
got it.
because it brought them back to that place again.
Right.
I do know actually, people pretty close to me that actually did fight in a war. They were in combat, and they have the recurring nightmares, because the same thing, fireworks will set them off because they lived it, and it's hard for them to overcome that.
There's some statistics. We were talking about this a little earlier. Do you want to maybe tell a little bit about some of those stats?
Yeah, that word. um, well, basically, we do know between 7 and 8% of the population does experience some type of post-traumatic stress disorder during their lifetime.
Okay.
And like I said, it's not just adults; children do too, because of some trauma, abuse. Men, women, and children actually do have it in their lives. And of course, it's combat, accidents, disasters, abuse are some of the reasons why.
Right.
But it is treatable. It
Okay.
definitely is treatable. And people that get to that point need to just seek treatment in order to overcome it. And it's honestly, people think that they're, sometimes people feel as though if they seek counseling or seek some kind of help, that it's a weakness, and it's not.
Oh, yeah.
They have to overcome that stigma, thinking that there's something wrong with them seeing a counselor or seeking help, when there's not. It's actually the best thing they can do for themselves.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I think you're right. I think society has, we've kind of grouped them, or, broken them down into, that there's something quote unquote wrong with them, but
Right.
not necessarily. It's just, and it's any level, right? It's any level and any degree of trauma that can trigger, or anything that can basically set them or increase their anxiety. I don't want to say set them off, because that's not a true assessment, but it's just whatever can increase that anxiety, or there's a trigger point that at some point that can bring those onsets of symptoms or feelings.
Right, exactly. And sometimes it's not even just one thing. It could be just uh, an excessive amount of stress in their life at that point where it's starting to trigger. So
Yeah.
it's not just fireworks. It's not just one thing. It could just be an accumulation of things that actually gets them to that point where they just can't deal.
Mm, that's so interesting. Now, we know that there are, no matter the reason, or no matter the PTSD, um, um, level or degree or intensity. We just know that there's ways that people can seek help. So what are some of the ways that some of the resources that we can um, um, tell the community how to steer or direct someone who has PTSD?
And if I saw someone that basically is struggling, which I have in the past, the first thing is encouraging to actually go ahead and talk to their doctor or a family member, or some kind of counseling, a minister, spiritual leader, somebody of faith in the community. They need to actually start to reach out.
Right.
There is actually support groups like Veterans Crisis Info, National Center for PTSD, Find Therapist, National Center of PSD, Help for Veterans, National Center for PSD, and then the National Alliance of Mental Illness. So those actually resources that you can actually look or Google would get you a good start as far as trying to find some type of help, the beginning stages, and then go from there. Actually start calling people, finding out what resources are available for them so they can actually start their healing.
Right. So we'll have all that information for anybody that's just heard that right now. We'll have all that information linked down below in the show notes. And if you're watching the video, we'll check the description down below. We'll link all that information for you as well. There's resources for sure. Everybody, please make sure you check those out. Or if you know somebody that is suffering from PTSD, or if you see symptoms of such, make sure you reach out to, have a conversation, and then just make sure that they are aware that they are not going to go through this alone, that we're here for them as a community.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now, what can medical weight control do to help with PTSD?
Well, we actually do offer some supplements that do help with stress, because like I said, one of the trigger points sometimes is excessive stress. So what we can offer actually are supplements that actually do help decrease the amount of stress. We do offer Rodix Forte. We offer another product called DMV, which is daily multiple vitamins. We do actually have B6 injections, which help with nerve function. And so it can help with basically any type of, depression, anxiety type of thing. Even in our IV bags, we do offer basically boosters of B6 in them. So a lot of times people may have immunity, and they want to add a B6 to that. That will help with nerve function. That'll help with stress. So we do offer things that actually can help decrease and control some of the amount of stress that you're finding in your life.
Now, as a community, I think we might have touched on this just a little bit, but as a community, what can we do to support all of our fellow, our friends and family, dear loved ones with PTSD?
Just understanding, I think, bottom line, because they do feel isolated and alone at times, because they don't think people understand where they're coming from, is basically trying to go ahead and reach out to them, reach out and say, you know that you didn't have the same experience, but you can understand what they're feeling. I think having somebody try to understand what you're going through is probably the most important thing, because it gives them that reassurance. So at that point, knowing that, there's somebody there on your side, rooting for you, actually is a good start as far as, getting that person to open up and to seek treatment.
Good advice. Absolutely great advice. So I will have the information to the National PTSD Awareness Month, the month of June. So I'll have that information linked for anybody down below who wants to take a look at that. And Maria, thank you so much. I really had a wonderful time. I didn't know some of these things, which is, always good to know. You never want to be kind of in the dark. You always want to be kind of aware, and you want to be able to know how to help others as well. So, and if you're going through that as well, so you want to be able to have those resources in case you feel that you're, maybe experiencing any of these symptoms, or if you've gone through trauma, or maybe some things are just kind of in the past are coming up or lurking back up, you want to be able to address that somehow. So I
Right.
appreciate this conversation. Thank you so very
Oh,
much.
you're welcome. And of course, if you ever feel, if a person ever feels that they want to hurt themselves, there is the National Suicide Line, which is the 1-800-273-8255. It's the National Suicide Prevention Line.
Maria, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Annie.
you. You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Maria Balles-Gunter. I'm a registered nurse here at Chino Hills Medical Weight Control, and you're tuning in to the Medical Weight Control podcast.